Welcome back to our special, The Future for Artificial Intelligence. Donald Trump big on AI and crypto. I'm still hesitant in some ways, but again, the argument I've been making throughout the show is it's not should we have it or shouldn't. It's should we have it or should China? Okay, whenever I get anxious or overwhelmed or I don't know how to think about a thing like this, I always go back to the Bible. So let's do our politics by faith section on this topic. One thing to keep in mind is that many of the people who are behind artificial intelligence think that they are God. Well, first, they don't think there is God, so there's no God. So in their worldview, because they're so powerful and so rich, now they're God. They could just become God, or they can create a thing, artificial intelligence, that can become God. But well, here's what, to give you an example. The Gutenberg Bible, the Gutenberg printing press in 1440, first printed the Bible. There's Johannes right there. Okay, so he made the printing press, and the first book that it printed was the Bible. Okay, great. But it couldn't create content, right? It could just make copies of something. It couldn't write new work. So all these AI people today, like Yuval Harari and stuff like that, they're like, every religion says their holy book was written by some superhuman intelligence. And now they think that they created their own superhuman intelligence that can write a new holy book, if you will, for us to live by. That's what these people think. And they think they're the ones to do it. They're the great creators of the all-knowing AI. Now, there's nothing new under the sun, right? What I just explained right there is the story of the Tower of Babel. Right? The people back during the Tower of Babel, they came up with a new technology, bricks. And they said in Genesis 11:4, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves." It wasn't the bricks that were the problem. God did not scatter them because they made bricks. It was the bricks and the pride of making a name for ourselves. That was the problem. Technology isn't bad in and of itself, right? Cain and Abel, they both used different technologies. They used different tools, right? One to work the ground, another to hunt animals. Those are technologies. Neither of the tools they used were sinful, but murdering your brother is. So the first thing, nothing new under the sun. Second, it's all about how you use the technology that matters. Third, to go back to the you're all guy, nothing can be bigger than God, no matter how powerful AI becomes. Nothing can threaten God's omnipotence, and nothing surprises God. That's another thing I got to remind myself every once in a while. Like, God is not sitting back, or I shouldn't say sitting back. Like, God's not on the edge of his seat being like, oh, what are they going to do now? Oh no, they're about to invent something that could be stronger than me. I didn't see this coming at all. He saw everything coming. He knows everything that is coming. And he's also sovereign over all things. So, there's so much uncertainty about AI and how it's going to be used and the dystopian future that may come. But none of it's going to catch God off guard. And none of it changes any of God's promises for now or eternity. Makes sense? That's really important to understand. We're in a time of uncertainty, but none of that should affect the certainty of God's promises for your life now and for all of eternity. God will provide for you. Jesus will return. Everything else is still true, no matter how powerful AI gets. AI will never be able to change the truth of the Bible. Now, AI can make things more deceitful, right? Make it trickier to determine what is true living in a world. But that's why we need to step up and make sure that we know what is true so that it doesn't work on us. Colossians 2:8, see to it that no one takes you captive. I don't want to be held captive. Do you want to be taken captive? I don't. Be captive by what? Captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world and not according to Christ. AI makes it all the more important for us to be on guard against this empty deceit. The Greek word there, empty, It means having no spiritual value, lacking the fruits of the Spirit. That's what that means. That's a problem for us now. Right? We have a problem now with being held captive by empty philosophies and human cunning and thinking and deceit. So we better get that under control now, because it's only going to get worse with AI. I'll throw one more thing in here, and we kind of touched on it with Joe Allen a bit. I don't trust Silicon Valley people and their worldview at all. I don't see how they've proven themselves to be people that we should listen to for about anything. I still hold Silicon Valley responsible for a lot of the madness with COVID. Let's go back to the beginning, like February 2020. The first time I heard of COVID was Tom Cotton, and he mentioned it in some committee hearing. And my initial response was like, whatever, China has no toilets, it's not a big deal. Like, that's their problem, not our problem, right? And the first people to really come out and say this is a massive deal were people in Silicon Valley. And they got me. I was held captive. They got me. These are guys with some authority, and they're good with numbers, and they had vision or something. And I valued the opinion of people in Silicon Valley because they were in Silicon Valley. And it took me a while to realize that they were putting out graphs with no numbers on them to try and shut the country down. Remember talking about flattening the curve and hospital capacity, all that nonsense? That was all out of Silicon Valley. And a lot of just work from home, no big deal, shut it down, everyone can work from home. That came from Silicon Valley, because the guys who did that were all working for Twitter. But they didn't think that maybe doesn't apply to everyone else in the rest of the country. But they're like, whatever, just give everyone money. Like, a lot of that was Silicon Valley. And a lot of that's because they have a different view on money in Silicon Valley than is real. So they're like, whatever, just print money, no big deal. So I still hold them accountable for that. My point is, be wary of Silicon Valley people, because in general, they don't care about people. John Mulvaney, the comedian, he was speaking at some tech conference in San Francisco. And he said, he got up on stage, he goes, let me get this straight. You're hosting, it was in San Francisco. He said, you're hosting a Future of AI event in a city that has failed humanity so miserably. He said, you look like a group of people who looked at the self-checkout counters at CVS and thought, this is the future. Just look at San Francisco and find out, and you can determine if you think San Franciscan people are the ones who should be ushering us into the future. So anyway, that's just a bit of an aside, but we need to be careful of people's worldviews. Adam and Eve were instructed to exercise dominion over the earth. And we're called to do the same. We need to be good stewards of everything around us. And AI is no different. It's new, that's for sure, but it's no different. And the question remains, how much have you turned technology into your slave versus how much are you a slave to it? If you are already a slave to your phone, then it's going to be tough for you to fight against AI. So let's make sure that we are a slave to Christ first, and then we have a better chance of making technology a tool that we can keep under our control. And nationwide, this is more reason than ever that our founders, they were right, that this country is only possible with a moral and religious people. The more godless of a nation we are, the more people will try to fill that God-sized hole. And AI is one thing that they're going to try to fill it with. All the more reason to know the truth and know the true God before AI becomes so dominant that so many people let in this false God as their savior. Slater Radio on Twitter and Instagram. Mike Slater, The First TV. Spread the word.